afternoon, guys. Sorry, guys, I promised to go live today. Unfortunately, I am not home right now, but I decided to come and do this short Facebook Live anyway. I will be able to find time, likely on Friday, to be able to go live, Facebook Live, and go in detail in terms of the plans for the No Alliance movement. Today's Facebook Live is going to be short, but I want to clarify a few things in terms of the No Alliance movement so you guys can understand what's actually going on. So if you're tuning in just now, or if you're new to Gambian politics, or if you're new to Lamin Tamba, Mr. Lamin Tamba, my name is Lamin Tamba. I support the Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction, the APRC. That's my political party in the Gambia. Just to give you a little bit of genesis in relation to the APRC. The APRC was formed in 1996, contested elections in September 1996 and won. That was the first election that the APRC contested. And the APRC ran the Republic of the Gambia for 20 years, between 1996, October 1996 or January 2017, January 1997 I should say. I can't remember when President Jammeh was sworn in. But anyway, to keep the genesis short, APRC ran the Gambia for 20 years. So I'm doing this for people who have started following me and they're not Gambian, or they were Gambian and they weren't into politics. Just like I was not into politics between 1996 and 2016. So there are some people who are Gambians who were very detached from Gambian politics, like I was between 1996 and 2016, 20 years of having absolutely no knowledge of who is who in Gambian politics, and having absolutely no knowledge of what was going on in terms of governance when it came to the Gambia. So there are people who are tuning into Mr. Lamin Tamba for the first time, or maybe they've tuned in before but they don't know what is happening in terms of Gambian politics. This is why at the beginning of my ever Facebook Live, I introduce myself, I introduce my political lining, so people can get up to speed with me. So I support APRC, which ran the government of the Gambia between 1996 and 2017, January 2017. And the APRC was led by the former president of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency, Sheikh Professor Dr. Alhaji E.J. Jammeh. Sorry about the lighting, sorry about the cap and the casual outfit. I'm not home yet. I promised to come live, so I didn't want to fail them, because some people expect me to come live when I say I will. And I appreciate that, especially people in the Gambia who do not have the luxury of 24-hour supply of cheap internet. Internet is very expensive in the Gambia. And not everybody in the Gambia is employed. In fact, the employment rate has increased significantly, because people who were employed in the tourism industry are no longer employed. People are sitting at home and hoping for the best. People who worked in industries that were related to the tourism industry have also been laid redundant by circumstances and the collapse of the tourism industry. Yes, we can blame most of it on COVID, but the government of the Gambia, the tourism industry, was struggling even before COVID hit. So I support the APRC. I used to be the UK branch spokesman of the APRC. The UK branch is one vibrant branch of the Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction, acronymed APRC. That's the party that President Jammeh was leader of and still a leader of, because APRC congresses, 2 congresses, held after Jammeh's departure from office. Jammeh left the Gambian presidency on the 21st of January or 22nd of January 2017. And since he left government, he also left the Republic of the Gambia, because the current government of the Gambia was not comfortable with having Jammeh on Gambian soil when they took over. So they appealed for him to leave the Republic of the Gambia, to leave the Gambian shores and seek asylum somewhere in the meantime while they set up their own government, and up to a time when they will settle. So the estimated time of them Barrow government settling, Barrow is the president who took over from President Jammeh. The time estimate they gave to be able to set up their own government was 3 months. So Jammeh was initially supposed to be out of Gambian territory for just 3 months until Barrow set his government and set the wheels of government in motion. That was supposed to be the sequence. So President Jammeh was not supposed to be outside of the Gambia for longer than 3 months. He was supposed to return and live his life like an ordinary citizen, but an ex-head of state with the benefits that come with it under the Gambian constitution. So the APRC lost power in January 2017. And I joined the APRC in March 2017. But before that, I decided to defend the party from late January 2017 through to February 2017, and then I officially joined the APRC in March 2017. And since then, I've fought for the party, and not just the party, I've fought for everything that had to do with injustice or bad governance since January 2017. And I still fight for the APRC. I'm still an APRC member, even though I resigned from my position of the spokesperson of the UK branch. I resigned because the APRC took a decision that I disagreed with, a decision that I couldn't sell, to make our APRC party decided they were going to form an alliance with Barrow government. Barrow government is the current government that is administering Gambia. So in my own political party, the APRC decided that they were going to form an alliance with Barrow, the current president of the Republic of the Gambia, somebody whom I thought, at the best of his ability, couldn't improve the Gambia, couldn't take the Gambia from A to B. All Gambians know, whether they like Jammeh or not, whether they hate him or not, all Gambians can agree that Jammeh is by far better than what we have now in the Gambia. The type of government we have in the Gambia now is incomparable to Jammeh. Jammeh was by far the better president than the government we have now. Sorry, a call just come in. And Jammeh was better than the government that was there before APRC. So Jammeh took over as a military ruler for 2 years transition, and then he contested elections of 1996 and became a civilian president for 20 years. Before Jammeh, we had 3 governments. The first one was British rule, colonial rule, or imperialism we would call it. Then after that, we had UP, United Party, under Pierre Esnjai, who was the first minister and then prime minister, I think the first minister for 2 years, 1960 to 1962. In 1962, for some reason, they called a premature election with some flimsy excuses as to why they wanted a fresh election in the Gambia, so that they can remove Pierre Esnjai and install President Jawara of the PPP. So we had 3 governments before Jammeh. British rule for 400 years, 2 years of Pierre Esnjai as the first minister. That was when Britain was ceding power, when Britain was losing the grip of leadership in the Gambia and most of Africa, basically. So basically the West African states were gaining independence from the United Kingdom around about the 1960s. So 1959, 1960 there were elections, and Pierre Esnjai of the United Party, UP, won the elections. Since he won the elections, there are rumors that tribalism was kicking off everywhere, and the British people didn't like the direction that Pierre Esnjai was taking, because he wanted total independence of the Gambia. Didn't want to have anything to do with Gambia being a protectorate again, or another nation under the Queen like we have in Australia right now, or Canada or Jamaica and other countries who can still only manage a prime minister. They cannot have their presidents because they are not republics. They're still under the British monarch. So they can only have prime ministers, no presidents. Pierre Essendia didn't want that. Or maybe because he was working with the British before, they didn't like his style. Or maybe it's actually true that there was so much tribalism, they had to call a premature election in 1962. Before the election in 1962, there was also... come on, what is my phone talking about? Sorry guys, the phone is messing about. So before that, before the 1962 election, when they plotted to remove Pierre Essendia, they changed the electoral rule. Alright, so these people, this is not like anything new. These election struggles that we're having now, they're not new. We learned all these things from the British. They started all these underground work, trying to undermine people that they didn't like. It's like a long history. So in 1961, the British rule, whoever was the governor of the Gambia or whoever was overseeing the Gambia as Britain was losing a grip, they changed the electoral rule of the Gambia, electoral register of the Gambia, again to favor the PPP. I don't know why. It's all rumor now because there's no document showing that it was because of tribalism. But we saw publications from people saying that there was so much tribalism when Pierre Essendia won the election in 1960 and became the first minister, equivalent of a prime minister. They had to force an election in 1962 during which Pierre Essendia lost the election to the PPP and also lost his majority in parliament. Because Gambia then had a parliamentary majority, just like the British system we have today. In Britain, the party that won the most number of seats in parliament gets the mandate to form the government. And from that mandate comes the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. But before we go into election, somebody is always identified as the party leader who then become the Prime Minister if his party won the most number of parliamentary seats. Gambia was like that between 1959 and 1962, and I think up to 1965, if I'm honest. 1970 actually. Up to 1970, the most number of seats won in Gambian parliament, that person became the prime minister. It started as a first minister. So they changed the electoral rule, which was later thrown out by the courts as unconstitutional, but they went ahead and held the elections anyway, with that dodgy electoral rule and with the dodgy process that was involved before the 1962 election, from which Jawara became the winner and went on to form his government. PPP also went on to win the majority of seats in 1962 parliamentary election or 1963 parliamentary elections, and that's how Jawara became the prime minister from 1962 to 1965 or 1970. Actually, he became the president. So PPP was there since 1962. So from 1962 to 1994, that's 32 years of PPP. Jawara became a president from 1970 to 1994. So that's 24 years, but he was the prime minister from 1962. So 8 years of being a prime minister and 24 years of being president, until he was removed by Yahya Jammeh in 1994 via a bloodless military coup. So Jammeh was the president, military ruler, between 1994 to 1996. Alright? So when he contested the election in 1996, he won. So he won the 1996 election, 2001, 2006, 2011, and arguably lost the election in 2016. We'll never know the true story now because the foreign forces, the neo-colonialists, the dark forces ensured Jammeh's petition in 2016 against the election results. They ensured that the petition was not heard in Supreme Court. That's a long story. So today, the APRC, as of the 4th of September 2021, the APRC decided to form an alliance with the enemy. Barrow government is APRC's arch enemy. Barrow government was not APRC's friend. We had nothing in common. In fact, Barrow government was accused by the APRC of all sorts of stuff, beginning with the stealing of the electoral results of 2016, with the manipulation of the election process of 2016, via which Barrow became the victor, in quotation marks. So the APRC had absolutely nothing in common with Barrow. The APRC was an enemy to Barrow. Barrow was an enemy to the APRC. But for some reason, according to the NPP, Barrow's party, the National People's Party, that's the party that was formed by Barrow last year, launched by Barrow last year. According to members of that party, they were having secret talks with the APRC executive since 2018 about forming an alliance, about coming together. Whatever games were played in between 2018 and the 4th of September 2021 is another long story, and I don't want to go into that. What I want to clarify today is the position of the No Alliance movement, which is a pressure group inside the APRC, which has become the boss of political talk in the Gambia these days, because it came from somewhere. Alright? So now, I want people to understand one thing. Alright? That since the APRC executive, National Executive Committee, announced that they were going to go into an alliance with the NPP, on the 4th of September the announcement was made, pronouncement, again made illegally, again the process was not followed properly, again due process was ignored in the event of announcing the alliance. Several members of the APRC party, I would say the majority, because it's becoming evident that the majority of the APRC supporters, let me block this bounty fella. Yeah, guys, hold on, let me block him. I don't take fake accounts. Alright? If you want to have your speech, have it, but don't come here with a fake account. Yeah, you'll not have any joy. Okay, just get me a good account. I appreciate free speech, no problems. But if your motivation is to come and insult, to have personal attacks with people, you can do that, but not on my platform. So the APRC, the majority of APRC supporters disagreed with the process involved in taking the party and forming an alliance with Barrow. The people who disagreed formed different chat groups, WhatsApp chat groups, Facebook groups, and are organizing themselves to counter the decision for the APRC executive to go into alliance with Barrow's NPP. Barrow, we all agree, and Barrow himself admits he's incompetent, he's inexperienced, he was not cut out for this job of Gambian president. Barrow himself admitted failures, but Barrow wants to prolong his stay in power at the expense of the Gambia, at the expense of the APRC, and at the expense of President Jammeh, who is still the APRC party leader, who is still the APRC flag bearer, and who's still the supreme leader of the APRC. But the APRC executive, via the interim leader and his executive, decided that Barrow was a friend. In my view, Barrow is a fool. Is Barrow going to change if the APRC help him? That's been the question I've been asking all the time. So now, the No Alliance movement is saying, we don't mind the alliance, provided that you followed due process of forming this alliance. You consulted with your APRC members, give them the respect that they deserve. These are the APRC members who sustained the party, who fought for the party, who stood there at the party's darkest moment. And that's between the 22nd of January 2017 up to the 28th, in fact no, longer than that, because up to 2018, 2019, APRC supporters were being attacked by UDP supporters and being hurt, being injured left, right and center. So these are the people, when President Jammeh left and there was a massive vacuum inside the APRC party and a massive vacuum in the Republic of the Gambia, these were the people who stood up and fought for the APRC tooth and nail, day and night. They stood up and fought for the APRC, financed the APRC, defended the APRC, delivered 5 National Assembly members to Gambia's parliament to defend the APRC's interest, to defend the Gambia's interest, and to defend President Jammeh's interest. Therefore, if the National Executive Committee of the APRC wanted to go into an alliance with a party that was the sworn enemy of the APRC, the National Executive Committee of the APRC should have conducted a thorough and nationwide consultation with their delegates, with their executive. It's called the National Executive Committee. It just doesn't mean the people who sit in Banjul and Serekunda and Brikama can just turn around and decide for the people without consultation. The National Executive Committee involves people from wards across the country, people from constituencies across the country, people from regions across the country. Therefore, these people represent a large population of Gambians, voting age Gambians, members of the APRC. No decision should have been taken unless these members were adequately consulted, unless there was a thorough consultative process from Khartoum to Koina, length and breadth of the Republic of the Gambia. That's what we're saying. Did the APRC conduct a thorough consultation with their members? No. Did they organize Congress to amend the APRC constitution, to consult all the delegates and ensure they have the full backing of the party before they went into this pronouncement of forming an alliance with Adama Barrow? No. When they announced it to start with, casually, they received massive firefight from APRC members. Enormous. They suffered serious attacks from left, right and center from a large population of APRC. And rightly so, because a large number of APRC supporters were asking questions and they were not getting answers. Instead, the members of the National Executive Committee of the APRC decided that they were going to impose their will on the voting population of the APRC. Members of the APRC, instead of taking this easy and thinking, we made a big mistake here, it would be wise for the executive to take 2-3 steps back and then consult the members properly, adequately, nationwide, and get a clear view of what the APRC members wanted. If the APRC members wanted an alliance, what party they wanted to work with. It's just not necessarily that APRC supporters wanted to go into an alliance with the NPP. That was a false story. That story came about because they never bothered consulting the APRC supporters. And when the APRC supporters asked questions, they said, whether you like it or not, by force we're going to go into an alliance with Barrow and the NPP. And they uttered so many ridiculous statements during that process, and they're still uttering so many ridiculous statements, even though they know that they're losing the grip of the APRC, because today the majority of APRC supporters are still strongly opposed to the alliance with Barrow and the NPP. And that's becoming evident by the day. The meetings we're having, the spot meetings, to a point where the administration in the Gambia is afraid to issue the No Alliance movement we call for short NAM. I am part of the No Alliance movement. I am part of the people who oppose APRC's decision to go into alliance with the NPP without due process being followed. Because I believe in the power of the members. I believe in the power of the people. I believe leaders take the lead from the general membership. The leaders should never attempt to impose their will on the general membership. The leaders should never intend at any point to deceive the general membership, because they are leaders due to these members who follow them. You're not a leader so that you can impose on your people. You're a leader so that you can take the lead from your people, implement the wishes and aspirations of your people. That's why they made you a leader, because they can identify themselves with you. They put you there because they think you represent what they want to achieve. You represent a face that they can relate with, who can implement their wishes and their aspirations. That's what leadership is all about. Leadership is not such as Oh, I want you to go green today. Whether you like it or not, you have to go green. Or tomorrow, I want you to go blue tomorrow. Whether you like it or not, you're going to go blue. That's not leadership. Leadership is about listening, observing, watching, reading what your people want. Sometimes what your people want is unreasonable, is unachievable. And sometimes you can see things that your people don't want. This is why you must go back to your people and educate them, sensitize them, share with them, express your opinion with them, seek advice from them, seek their opinion, and then you will know. Based on that, you can advise your people, okay, although you said you wanted pink today, I think the sun has not come out today, it's a bit dark. Even if you wear pink today, your color of pink is not going to be radiant. It's not going to have the desired effect. So I think as your leader, I think today, because it's dark and gloomy, the best colors, the best outfit to have on is either gray or black or white or high-vis yellow. That's how you act as a leader. And your language as a leader has to be reassuring, has to be conciliatory, has to be welcoming, has to take the direction of what your members want you to do. Simple as that. You'll be foolish as a leader to go against the majority of the people you lead. That's suicide. In politics, the majority rules. And that's what the No Alliance movement of the APRC, the NAM, said from the beginning. We're happy to go into this alliance as long as we know the party leader of APRC, who is also by the constitution of APRC, is the chairman of APRC, endorses your move towards the NPP. The party leader of APRC constitutionally is the chairman of the National Executive Committee of the APRC NEC. Therefore, the party leader of the APRC has to be evidently approving of anything that the APRC National Executive Committee does. And we have to have evidence that the party leader of APRC, who is not on Gambian soil right now, who is resident in Equatorial Guinea, President Jammeh, the leader of APRC, is a resident of Equatorial Guinea as it stands. So therefore, the past decisions of the party that he made or he approved since his departure, since his residence overseas, he backed those decisions up with audio and said, yes, I agree with the National Executive Committee. The National Executive Committee, in consultation with President Jammeh, who's the party leader and flag bearer and the chairman of the National Executive Committee, have arrived at so and so and so decision. And the decision is as follows. We've decided to reinstate Fabakary Tombong Jatta to the interim position of the APRC, interim leader position. We've decided to remove Emeba or somebody else from there. Then the next event, major event in the APRC was, the National Executive Committee, in consultation with President Jammeh, and the audios were there to back it, in consultation with President Jammeh, have decided to expel X, Y, Z from the APRC party. And President Jammeh said, I agree with the decision to expel X, Y, Z from the APRC party. That event was followed by APRC's one and only protest since Jammeh left. And that protest was organized around the coastal road of the Gambia. The APRC went out to protest to demand from ECOWAS, African Union, United Nations and the European Union that Jammeh be returned to Gambian soil as agreed by the joint communique of 21 January 2017. In that joint communique, it was agreed that Jammeh would temporarily leave Gambian shores to allow Adama Barrow and his people, who were timid, who were cowards, who were afraid to assume the mantle of leadership on Gambian soil, with President Jammeh present on Gambian soil. Why were they afraid? The reasons are many. But that's beside today's topic. Irrelevant. So therefore, constitutionally, procedurally, the alliance with the NPP as pronounced by the APRC executive was done improperly. And therefore, as long as the law goes, if you do not follow due process, you don't follow the constitution that binds the institution of the APRC together, you have acted illegally. and any illegal decision that was taken will be rendered futile. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what the No Alliance movement has been saying from day one. As long as the general membership of the APRC is happy and President Jammeh is supporting this move, we're happy because democracy is ruled by the majority. Lamin Tamba's personal opinion is irrelevant once the majority have voted in favor. Lamin Tamba's opinion is irrelevant once the National Executive have endorsed a move and the chairman has sealed it, and the chairman is President Jammeh. I'm telling you this because when it comes to public institutions, our personal input is irrelevant. There's a constitution that's written that governs an institution. Every institution has got a constitution or a mode of operation. Those laws that have been set to govern an institution are there because every individual is different. We have our different opinion. We have our different tastes. So therefore, we cannot all have personal preferences when it comes to running an institution, because my personal opinion or preference might be different from somebody else. If we allow institutions to be run that way, we will have incessant, endless, perennial, eternal bureaucracy in institutions. That's why constitutions are written. That's why memorandum of understanding might be written in some companies. That's why there are articles of association. That's why several other documents that are laid to run institutions, because that way you avoid personal conflicts, individual interests overriding the institution's interest. So therefore, we're saying the move involved in taking the APRC and handing it to Adama Barrow was done inappropriately, without the consent of the general membership, without the consent of President Jammeh. The National Executive Committee needed to detour and recommence this whole thing, and then convene a Congress to vote on it and amend the constitution of the APRC to reflect the current realities on the ground. As it stands, the APRC-NPP alliance is illegal, and the party leader and chairman of the APRC, President Jammeh, can just dissolve the executive or dismiss the members, or, as we said since May, June 2021, endorse it. If President Jammeh is happy, I know the majority of APRC supporters are supporting the party because of President Jammeh. If he endorses it, the majority of party members will go in line. No problems. But from solid evidence, clear evidence, direct source, we know President Jammeh was opposed to the alliance with the NPP. Strongly opposed to the alliance. And therefore, his voice is the voice of the majority. The majority of APRC supporters are saying no to the alliance. And that's no offense, because many people are in the party because of the doctrine of President Jammeh, because of the ideologies of President Jammeh, because of the belief that he's given to Gambian youth and women. The length and breadth of the country. The majority of APRC supporters are in there supporting the APRC because of President Jammeh's doctrine, his philosophy, his ideology. So if he said, no, I'm opposed to the NPP alliance, as I can tell you now, first-hand information, we say no to it. If he says we're going to do it and the majority vote for it, the APRC will go into it. Personal opinions will not matter. That's why we must never try and impose our personal wills, wishes and aspirations on the general public. Running a public institution is not meant to be that way. Running a public institution involves discipline, decorum, observing the institution, the laws, the regulations that govern the country or the institution or the state or whatever it is. So the No Alliance movement is saying, now that we are getting stronger and bigger and better, because a lot of APRC members are now following the No Alliance movement, and our meetings are becoming evident. Even though the police are afraid, and the establishment, Barrow government and the APRC National Executive, allegedly are pressuring the police not to issue the No Alliance movement a permit to stage a rally. They are not issuing us a permit to conduct a tour of the country, because they know, oh hell, they know that the majority of APRC supporters are aggrieved by their decision to take a mighty party, a humongous party like the APRC, and hand it to a baby and a failing party like the NPP and the Barrow government. The APRC supporters are finding it extremely difficult to reconcile with the idea that their mighty Green Army, the Green Party, the record holder on Gambian soil, is about to hand itself to a failing government in Barrow government. Barrow and the NPP are not renowned for anything except for inaugurating projects started or initiated by President Jammeh. Since Barrow came in, he either started implementing the projects initiated by Jammeh, or he continued them, or he completed them. Which is fine as government. Continuity. That's what government is all about. But Barrow should be given Jammeh credit for creating these opportunities, for signing these contracts, for sourcing funding for various projects in the Gambia. And even with that, Barrow is still failing. Look at the Sukuta-Jambanjeli road. The section of the road that was built before Jammeh flew out was excellent. The section of the road that was completed after Jammeh left government is terrible and caused a lot of floods. It caused a lot of floods in Jambur and Jambanjeli end, Nemakunku end, because they didn't create the culverts and waterways under the road from the section at which Jammeh left it. After that section, when Jammeh left, they put a third grade road there going towards Sukuta Jambanjeli. And the whole area floods on a consistent basis. Barrow should give Jammeh credit. Those Woolly bridges, Basse roads, Fatoto Koina roads, Woolly roads, all those ones, like I said before, were initiated by Jammeh and the Chinese under the BRI initiatives, Belts and Roads initiatives, or the other name for BRI is OBOR. One Belt, One Road. OBOR. That's what it is. All those projects were initiated by Jammeh, but Barrow is completing them. Lamin Koto Pasamas. Barrow is trying to claim all those things, including the Basse College and other places, companies that were invited into Gambia to invest by President Jammeh, like MRC Holland, charitable organizations or companies to invest in the Gambia. But Barrow will never give credit to Jammeh. This is why I cannot understand why the APRC National Executive and their small supporters find Barrow attractive. But then again, in the end, we will find out whether this was a good move. And like I said before, I want Barrow to genuinely surprise not just the APRC, but to genuinely surprise the entire country, the whole Gambia. We want to see massive improvement from Barrow. We want to see our medical services revamped, because medical services have been collapsing since Jammeh left. We want to see scholarships come back to our schools and university, because schools were falling apart, including Gambia College, since Jammeh left. We want the security situation to be ameliorated immediately, because the security situation is scary in the Gambia right now. People are not safe in their houses anymore. The streets have been taken over by criminals a long time ago. But now our homes are at the mercy of the criminals too. Barrow needs to revamp that. Barrow needs to improve our energy sector. When he came to office newly, he said within 6 months the energy shortages will be history. The energy shortage, despite spending $4 million more a month than Jammeh, our energy sector is worse today than Jammeh's time. The water supply, we're not even talking about that anymore. There are places in Kotu, Sokuta, Kololi, which are downtown Gambia, high-end areas of the Gambia, right? These are high-end areas of the Gambia. They're not getting water, a drop of water for weeks, months, years. And indeed, the APRC, development-oriented party, had to help Sukuta people with a generator and a borehole so that they can get water through their taps, pipe-borne water. A development-oriented party like the APRC has therefore no reason to associate with a failing government like Barrow's. But then again, like I said, I want to be genuinely surprised by Barrow. I want to see noticeable improvement from his government. Barrow himself hasn't got scope for improvement. So if he improves after December elections, if he wins it, and we think he's not going to win, if he wins that election, he is not going to improve as a person, Barrow himself. He's not going to improve as a person. But people around him can improve his government and the country. And this is why I think maybe, just maybe, the APRC will help him improve. If he does win December election with the help of the APRC. But the way it's going, the majority of APRC supporters are pulling out of the alliance because they've seen what it's all about. So the energy sector, the water supply, medical services, education, agriculture is gone terrible. All the tractors that Jammeh gave to farmers to mechanize agriculture, to improve productivity, to make sure Gambia is self-sufficient in terms of food production, those tractors were seized by the Barrow government and they were not returned. The last time I heard, Barrow bought 50 tractors, but instead of giving the farmers back the 850 tractors that they seized from the farmers, claiming those tractors to be Jammeh's tractors, instead of returning them to the farmers, they've given it to the bourgeoisie, the petty elite of the Gambia. They've shared those tractors among themselves, leaving the poor farmers crying and weeping during the rainy season. We all heard audio from the farmers of Jahali Pachar, the rice production end of the Gambia. They were regretting it and lamenting how the seizure of tractors has reduced productivity and their livelihoods have been ruined by the tractors that were seized by the Barrow government from the Gambian farmers. Is that where we're supposed to be heading as a country? We're spending $4 million, not dollars, it's $4 million according to a whistleblower. I haven't seen the papers yet. But apparently they're paying Car Power $3 million a month or a year. I can't remember. I think it's a month. And they're paying Senelec $1 million a month to supply electricity to the Gambia. Senelec is the Senegalese company. Again, this is the occupation and exploitation of Gambia that's taking place now. Our foreign exchange is going to Senegal and is going to the Turkish Car Power. So despite spending $4 million more a month, we're worse off in terms of energy and water supply. Worse off. How are we going to allow the extension of this type of governance? Why? APRC of all people, a patriotic, nationalist, Pan-African, Gambia-loving, development-oriented party, supporting a president who is evidently failing in every sector. But if President Jammeh says so and the majority says so, it's a democratic right. I will not stop them. I will not be in their way. But I'm sounding the alarm bells. Sorry, I'm going Shakespearean now. The alarm bell is the alarm, basically. I'm sounding the alarm bells. And I'm warning them about the dangers of going into an alliance with Barrow. Again, I'll repeat. I want Barrow to genuinely surprise not just APRC, but to surprise the whole country by improving rapidly if he does win the election in December 2021. The No Alliance movement thinks we have the solution to Gambia's problem. And we think the APRC should make a U-turn and return to itself and select the flag bearer or bring President Jammeh back, make him a flag bearer, we win the election and go back to State House. We would like, the No Alliance movement says categorically clear that we want President Jammeh to give us instructions as to the next direction. If he's not going to come by the 4th of November when nomination starts of candidates, presidential candidates, let him give us the direction he wishes the party to go. Is he approving of the NPP alliance? We go that way. Is he opposed to it like we knew he was opposed to it? We oppose it. What then do you want us to do, Mr. Jammeh, or Dr. Jammeh, or Professor Jammeh? What do you want us to do next if you're opposed to the NPP alliance? And you're not interested in contesting, or you're not going to come back? What do you want the party to do? That's the next stage of the APRC. And that's what the No Alliance movement has said from the beginning. We don't mind the alliance as long as we know President Jammeh is not being betrayed. But from what we knew then, President Jammeh was being betrayed in broad daylight. And we were opposed to that betrayal. He was the founding father of the APRC. He is the founding father of the APRC. He led APRC to 4 successful victories and a 5th which was stolen from him by the same person that we're going to sleep with now, President Barrow. You see how awkward this whole marriage is? You going to sleep with a thief? The person you accused of being a thief? Well, we can't. It's politics, they say. No permanent enemies, no permanent friends, only permanent interests. Really? What about the principles? What about the values? What about patriotism? What about taking your country forward? So yesterday there was an audio that came from one of the executive members of the No Alliance movement stating that they wanted to investigate forming alliances with other parties. That's their personal opinion. They made that clear. In fact, they apologized for putting down audio and the audio went viral. That's not the position of the No Alliance movement entire executive. The No Alliance movement has made it absolutely clear since June that we are not going to support Barrow. We're not going to support any alliance with any party until we get instructions from President Jammeh. That position was then in June, and that position is still valid as of the 6th of October 2021. But we'll continue to sensitize the APRC supporters and Gambian voters. We'll continue to mobilize resources and personnel in the interest of the APRC, in the interest of President Jammeh, in the interest of the Gambia. And that's exactly what the No Alliance movement is doing. And we're succeeding. We're getting bigger, we're getting better by the day. And we're saying the No Alliance movement is still there, sensitizing, mobilizing, educating, sharing information, and we will remain disciplined. So whatever audio you hear, whatever information you hear, that the No Alliance movement is going to alliance with any other party in the Gambia, that's just somebody exploring other options, which is fine. In the No Alliance movement, everyone is significant, everyone is important, everyone can speak up. We have no problems. When we get the next instructions as to where we're going, we will let every single member of the No Alliance movement know. And that's the reason why I made this Facebook Live today. That the No Alliance movement has got no intention of going into alliance with any other party at this stage, unless we get the instructions that that was the direction that the party leader and chairman of the APRC National Executive Committee wants us to go, and that's President Jammeh. But we'll continue to mobilize, we'll continue to educate people, we'll continue to share ideas, and we're doing spot meetings in KMC, Banjul, West Coast region. Our next trip will be North Bank region, Central River region, and Upper River region. Even Lower River region we will go to, because we still have a strong support of APRC in pockets of Lower River region. And we want to go and tap into that support and show them how patriotic APRC is, how patriotic the No Alliance movement is, how we're getting ourselves ready for nominating President Jammeh or any candidate that he tells us to nominate come the 4th of November or the 5th of November 2021. If he's going to run, we put him there. What's clear to all Gambians today, that if the choice was between President Jammeh and Barrow, President Jammeh was going to win all day long, hands down. Barrow will be lucky to get 10-15% of the vote actually. If the decisions were between the two of them only at the polls, Barrow will be lucky to get 5% of the Gambian vote. That's clear. So therefore, the No Alliance movement says, we're not going to go into alliance with Barrow. We care more about the Gambia. We care a lot about President Jammeh. We care a lot about the APRC and its legacy. It's a record-breaking party, record-holding party in everything Gambian when it came to development. So why then will we try and have any alliance with people or a government that has 0%? Well, we just saw the UDP tour. Barrow's flagship program, the only one that he initiated and could have been a very good thing, political thing for him, was the Hakalang Road in Nyomi. We just saw the UDP crossing on Hakalang Road, which has been under construction for 6, 7, 8, 9 months now. Apparently only 3 to 4 kilometers of it has been completed so far after 9 months. And the place looks like UDP was crossing a river in the North Bank region. They were building that road. It was supposed to be Barrow's own creation from start to finish. And even that is faltering, it's falling apart. The Hakalang Road has been delayed and delayed and delayed. It's been cut to pieces by heavy rains. You go to the North Bank Road that President Jammeh constructed in 1996, 95 actually. 1995, the North Bank Highway is still solid, rock solid. That's the difference between a leader and a puppet. That's the difference between a leader and somebody who accidentally assumed the mantle of leadership. President Jammeh built the North Bank Highway in 1995-96. 22 years, 24 years later, it's still going strong. It's still solid. 25 years later. Still solid. Yes, it might have its knocks here and there. Yes, it's a 25 years old road. What do you expect? But that road was not cut by water. It's still going strong, very solid. This is why when you spend the taxpayers' money, make sure you build things to last. Don't allow the type of Banjul projects we're seeing with Banjul flooding on every day. Every rainy opportunity, Banjul floods. Brikama is no longer. All the connecting roads that Jammeh built gone in vain. Serakunda, all the connecting roads that Jammeh built gone in vain. We've seen Banjul flooding, sewage everywhere, different things happening. The pump is broken, they don't want to repair it. The concrete roads were built, they didn't create enough waterways to be able to absorb the heavy rains and water from the rivers in Banjul. But Barrow thinks that's his flagship program. Actually, the Banjul concrete roads were phase 1 to phase 4. President Jammeh started phase 1 of concrete roads in Banjul, and that was the Quadrangle, State House and others. And those areas don't flood because they have enough culverts, they have enough waterways. The areas that were flooding are the ones that have been built by that gay guy since Jammeh left in Banjul. That's phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. That's where a lot of flooding is. You can't go to State House or Quadrangle and find all those flooding areas flooded because they put enough waterways to be able to cater for heavy rains in Banjul or floods. Phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 was $35 million embezzled just like that. Created lots of flooding opportunities for people's houses and businesses in Banjul. Why? Mediocrity. The president doesn't know. How is he going to supervise projects like that? How is he going to correct them where they go wrong? This is what Jammeh does. Jammeh will get up in the middle of the night at midnight and go to a construction site, road construction site, and surprise the contractors and rectify them where they went wrong. And there are videos of him correcting the contractors at Sting Corner, at other places. Jammeh will get up in the middle of the night and go and look at the projects that the government is running and rectify construction companies. That Lamen Bridge between Abuko and Lamen, apparently when they were building that dual carriageway from West Coast to Farato or Airport Johnson, they didn't want to knock the Lamen Bridge down or Abuko Bridge, that Abuko Nature Reserve in Abuko. They didn't want to knock the bridge down and expand it and build it fresh. So Jammeh told them to knock it to pieces and build it afresh with dual carriageway both sides. They wanted to narrow it down. They wanted a cheap job. He told them. He went there at night and contractors ran away because Jammeh always wears white. So he turned up out of nowhere, surprise visit, bam, the contractors were running away. They thought they saw a demon or something. They fled, only to find out that Gambia's president paid them a surprise visit. That's what you do as a leader. Jammeh was doing set-settle, cleaning of the community. He was going in drains and clearing drains. That's why so many Gambian people still love that man. Even in his absence, they adore him. They uphold him in high esteem, despite all the media propaganda, local and international. They couldn't damage the man. They couldn't tarnish his image. Still strong, still popular. But the No Alliance movement, that's our position. The position we took in June, 4 months ago, is the position we have today. That consultation of taking the APRC into alliance with the MPP was improper. The announcement was illegal. The current marriage is illegal. And the majority of supporters are disillusioned and refusing to support the Barrow government, Barrow and NPP. And we've seen evidence of that by the empty APRC convoys. The convoys are not rammed like they used to when the APRC has event days. Convoys are lonely. Nobody's going to Barrow's rallies. Even the APRC executive themselves said, yeah, the APRC supporters haven't taken to the NPP and APRC alliance like they expected. They're not going to the rallies or to the events. Despite being paid, despite being given lots of money. They're saying no. It's a bad alliance. But if the majority want to go for it, fine. If President Jammeh endorses it, fine. So therefore, any other audio you hear, people saying, oh, did NAM want to go into an alliance with GDC or DOI or some other person, that's not the position of the NAM. The NAM is saying, we're waiting for instructions from President Jammeh, but while we're waiting, we're not going to sit down and fold our hands. We're going to mobilize the APRC. We want to secure the APRC base. We want to add more personnel to those bases. We want to make sure if President Jammeh comes, he's ready to represent the APRC. If he tells us to pick another candidate, we're ready to go into the election straight without thinking, oh, we need to mobilize now. That's what the No Alliance movement is doing. We're mobilizing the APRC supporters, keeping them inside the APRC, securing them, giving them hope, giving them directions to go at the moment until we hear otherwise. So anyone tells you the No Alliance movement is split into two, no, it's not split into two, we're one. Anyone tells you the No Alliance movement executive have decided to go into alliance, it's not true. One executive member expressed his opinion, what he wanted to happen, and the executive members come out and clarified and apologized twice, 3 times. We're happy with that. We're holding strong. We're the NAM. We're the APRC pressure group that says no to the Barrow and NPP alliance. And that's where we are. That's where we will be until we get instructions from the Supreme Leader, the party leader and flag bearer, His Excellency Sir Professor Dr. Alhaji Yaya AJJ Jammeh. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I end tonight's Facebook Live. I need to drive home now. Thank you very much. I love you all Gambian citizens, whether you're APRC or not, I love you all. At the end of the day, what I want is Gambia's advancement. All right? So I do not care who's president of the Gambia, whether they're pink, they're yellow, they're blue, they're green, they're man, woman, young, old, as long as they're delivering to their best ability for the benefit of the general public. That's what it's all about. The benefit of the general public, simple as that. And on that note, I end this live. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Bading Gambian kolu APRC dingolu banko din cendolo ngali kontong misilmeya kontandiro la mimbe cikaring ak seneyata kalsata fana kafale ko assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Kontandiro kola bifana fele musana kote nale kasha nalbadi malamu jamme jilan ko jato. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tentubake atelem buladon diam tanun jan diam labangola bifana fele kote ke ate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kilon lanyine ta kote ken diam ta diam dola wo mutentubaleti mi yalan ko mba kerekerla Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala e ka jayi ala nemo kan ay mindinna ka ala fonyo niji mi yalan kon tolmala josotono anin kan kango bulan nyama kabiri lungo min nambota di amla jangamamme fo bita alhamdulillah nga Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tentu bake mem fongo seila kata Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kan kotege badi ngolu badi Gambian kolu kontondiro kola alnal badi malamu jamme jilan ko jato. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Hey dunia. APRC nkolu noto coalition ngalbe kontong. Noto alliance ngali kontong. Ani momo ko ite date alliance oto ngabe kontong. Ani satel milbe jamme jilanko jato expect bulok nyol ana sate koten kotengolo. Manano bare na memba kilim bijele ayal mabe wato bela nata bije haji wasa aliyalo ne niko jilanko iko baitulai ika jimale laka iko jibakulo okola prof baji fana bal fejola wato bela alhamdulillah o kumata bake kontanta ninyul tedam ninte tedam nyul bije alhamdulillah nitol tedam ninte bije alhamdulillah ulum blandla bebe ngani akilin akamatala APRC dingolu na APRC kafo wato kulun bulandila be nga mirako bebe ngani akle yarfa nindol ka oli nyori kulungo jio waling dolo ka sabana ne ay fintinam banta dolo woli bulole la kulunka etolmantara nyori kan bi afentan because mine kata wato tata ngaje ko kulungo amune atanan sai aman jio ma nyin kafo be investigation o keta nga lonko dolol be wuri ken sangolela Allahu akbar bare to nyalo ndi wato sita de Gambia sako APRC dingolu hey billahi wallahi tallahi nallahi ntol be diam la le neng be diam la le kumo be fon tolma bare min mu to nyati ngitabula wala noma alse kumo be fo alse kuo be fo min mu to nyati mbe bulala wala noka wala munti na APRC alliance kuo be minna president Jammeh datije ndu na date damen tol datije bare mi ente jakale wala nyinti ko ntenga mera natol be to nyakan ntol diamulal man nyanka kato la problem wotide because ntol ngajel kon tol be to nyakan alla mo jamal lel bije mil yalon ko e kan neng e kan tolun nenne ngani kala mata forum kilin kono boy do bije ngela ki ngejele kam mbeke something ko jabi nyabe kan in patriotic Gambia alla forum kono ko jabi min bije kan ndiro min beke ngajele balenta dan kula nim faloye dan fu ya dan falbe fali balenta ngalon ne ko nyin ko jabi min kan nenten nin nalo ta den na fana e bulo din na anda bulu fulala dilan e kan ibe min bela ngajele bare nak mbe diamule ila molu se diamuye famin kunta min to fokabarahu wa kala filtahu wa kasarahu ni takitante layte jelela billahi wallahi talla let me tell you one thing jilanko jaton dela diamu man siya ndela action lel siyata ni ko be tagilantelante tulaji lafta fonninkela bake memmu katalati lafta fonninkela memmu tonya moti lafta fonninkela min ngani yo bete ada bare summun bukumuno yala alqur'ano ka tol sifalle fal nyaabe ling altulol al nyaabe ling albe finkiring altulol be ling kutala altulo tayta albuka fem moy nita malo mimbe kering finti mol kan APRC dingolu molu nata yale mi yalan ko iko nata na audio le proof iko ya moy audio konol ko jilan ko iko molen ne ko momo laftaka long mimbe kering foto nyalon foto nyanteng na yena finti kan ibe fenne dila mo la ngala moy iko nata wala proof bare ngadi momo la wol nin kontani bale seytat jandingi betal la kan neng formo kono fintinan yenanang nendiro wote fendi because abuka tara saferin dendi kabala abuka tara saferin mo fonda bala abole nyama politiko kono ni bije ko te difference tala wote fonyo politiko la bare ntol lafta politique nyamin na Gambia wala nyinti ko alimbe ngani kilingo ke kaje ko political difference te bayila miro le nata meta nyim folal yenne bare ngajele ko ite hakilo man kalsade niaje manku kela wallante ku do kenolela dankuto min ben ni tema warta bakele ko jabe ne jammelo mu wala atin nangan time tayla ko to bake bare nim faloye dan fu ya dan fal be fal ndete dankula e kabula mil no ma injinka mune mu itolla problème ot kabri itolla ta ko itolle be to nyakan den mune keta itolube willa kaje ko ntolbe delalo ko nyasio be nyama ninga atra ko itolla ta itolbe min na wolem to nyande ye bula wono kan ntolbe min kan ye ntol bula o kan hey altem forcer no la ngala fenda mi yalon ko itate oto nta kela so aleni political strategy ta ka sembendi ka foko ha eme bala mo kilingol Jammeh jilanko jato aliyalo nembedu na ko na ka Senegalé bare mbe kuma kilin fola Gambia kol be ya moy wo hada madi ngoma wulu Gambia banko kam folo ngamin ni ya Jammeh la na wulu lal ko la na bulot brodal nimel bota bakilin fakili nyinen sinya fula nyawti mba fala len kale ko nen nga fo nen ko nimmi na fulo soto e kontane e ko kana lo masayala la as long as ya Jammeh bije ndela carte ta astola de natol bente forcer la monela ngabula tol no kan ale strategy min pile ngalo ne anno Adam Barrow ataka jele ko atele ferata tol datol ka jele ko atol le ferta Adam Barrow APRC tote tutu no la Gambia wala tin albe president Jammeh alkamol nyori pour ye diam president Jammeh son alliance la your excellency Jammeh jilanko jato yalo ne ngami ngomi fo billahi wallahi tallahi nallahi there is something clear ntebu kan kali ye kensenke you know it ning alliance niya accept lungo minna alonko APRC tututale kule be duma mi alonko jama bal maje andu jandi ning alliance ko be fintila ku jamale borinda sadale bondita fa bakari tombo njata moriata la mutata tap ama kalamuta ala korda nyati ngola fengo beje hey billahi wallahi tallahi nallahi itoli alon nente kam for they know it very well Baitullahi al-Mahruse funding kellel paredi including ntol fangol la tribe molu na jola dindingol yol fana parendi la andu ye promise le ke jo momo $6 million pour ni e Baitullahi muta after mutaro isne jo ala barali fonyo ali daha jamme jelan ko jato e ko be fengo kala na muso bala pour nanata andu muso la mi yalon ko amarata Gambia la place balle lanu nanata e bulo dinna drong ayna bentar laja ndemal la fi muso fengo na de lafta kele nana anda tol ke furungol tende alla morol alkamin kumandam bantala satel to lafta walle na ale moro minki ay do ko ke dabaro minke president jamela jamengo mimbe state house je abala je tak ale sarero minke je altali aji be fabe je la bang ale yenyan kuma fingo minke je moro mi yakje lamin sise Baitullahi fale ne ka fatale to nyala fatale bara la nyan kuma fingo ala ko resfal ba je la bi hey alkana fe anyola way Gambia nkana fe anyola ale dabaro ke dawda mba bele bondikam president jambe is due it's time prime murna pleno tambita tokis pleno anata molka nyonyi ninka mun plen si fara alkamune ke jafara barale ngatade mo kilinne nyin ko be on the mine wala ya on the mine Fabakary Tombong Jatta mi do ko ke pour tombonda dabaro mi ya do ya di musolela wo kodo tala dula fango e jo kodo minna problème o ke do ko konole you think people are mad ali al mero ay yalong dunia ni di amere be nyame mo be bole nyama that's the greatest mistake ye wala ke ali greatest mistake ba katango de wala be kiri bare nak Allahu akbar alngata nyin ko meta borim na dumale pour nyin kam nim findita Tombong kang anytime rek ni nga fay rek ako ha ke ba man taw Fabakary Tombong Jatta man taw wala na nabe siri nga kilo katare mira kang aman taw bare kam ne fay kane la mo nyindi am lalla bare ke ba fa yalo ne ko tonya ate fa la mine kam murna sometimes ko ya mesle bare Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be santu subhanahu wa ta'ala abe korosiro la be jubero la bare milko almantara kole sono kono nali ko alte sonna yali neng wota ali fonyo politiko la e bali nen nale yali bal nenge ko beki ali bule neng mi ya babu nya obuka wandi bane mi lafta bala obuka wandi bane mi ya wulu tino hani mu ke kana wodi ni atara ko ika film musole e man nyanka mo bane bare ali ngata de ali fero beleki ali kan tol taget munel altento alal fa wadda handi hey nte momo alka momo kinte kam prande taget wo kala kaburo le sing dal ka molkina fatul make kurtutiolti ngame alka la kurtole wulale se ale sele musokan alka mune batu command attack me alna nang nte am still nte ka fale nal kana mo kinkan kom alfa ngole nal fa ngoy you will find me ready yalong last time al kachatal non pour aller fengo kalbala len na len tarano na center no taget le ngo ko wis na bol na dini wol fe ka celebrate den ñu wato ñina talan kala foti de sole konti nte bo falale billahi wallahi tallahi nallahi ya jamere murna Gambia abe jarla ñel nga kafir ya bare mbajala ko ajawol be fa nimi man tenku o ka fo be tol attaque lan tol diam lan kan tol attaque ha manjan ka diam so hey mor fulindi man ku non tol la tus imano ndele nga fo tus imano mo morole mimbe ku to nyamim nyantalo la Gambia ko moria fan altale na audio play morola la fante ko e man kunoje aja melanato go and tell them it's due baral balo nako president jamela nako adama ningol da mama wile nak it's due wato le sita hey lirobe science abe koyla bi mil bebe wuri kalbe mol nenkan albe kol kala there will be a day alkamil bakteng albe nyidi ngamana karile ka finta banko kan na bayta billahi intasalla ko tek gilan ko I will not pray again ngalon nen kam fale ku koyole be mbulu ntaboto nan tamadula njuita banko kan mfudela na ngatil dan tanke jang baraka bidi ya lon kombe banko kan rek e ko kan tele nyo saban kan komandi because ya lon ne ko ntanga fengo ngakuma koyo wala ka tarambudo ndebe ka findinga diam la wonyama telephone be kering ha ni aje lafta alliance did I ask them nyenyi nin kala ba menyi nin kay kam nyo saban adun tajana fin tajana alal ma moma alal ma moluma ala baral bal bulo kala satakan do kono albe moliki lebe mol taket lebe bitila molebe fala baytula al mahrusatul sofano baytula al mobile ale fero minke mintata fokati kale ay minke je kawo badal ngata de ali ala mobile ale akala nyami nalma fin 40 days ngawle di yalla 40 days yemmin bondi kati kale yaki baytula ya o kilimo mbole kilene ka mesem borsotat sinya tanga e kalo fili na baytre wulo bula fayji lanko jato ngata de yalla bu ko son salla ngabe long ngalon ne dalilo mi adne bu ko son kasali barna diata ale ni tebe talala dawda ite balo nako yaaje mete moti mo nyanta fe ala minna albe strategy min play kan nin mol move adam baro election o win rek sa mo be move ka divert to NPP so ko defe president jamme wala party suppress ay fa dak atekela it will not happen over our dead body APRC ko la nyaayele tumola sida itoli mi yalon ko bi bal tol sabakan atol min miltanol mil bal ko milbe koma ibe tol le drokan modol la audio liktale ka foko ibe fero be ke kan kaaje ko president jamme ata bonde as the flag biara ni molbe diam ko ala watol ta antol te diam la ken senke bare audio ni finti wato masi nka ya jamme la bato nanata nka e sa ila moy karila bar ila moy karila diamo mambetia alim nyinin karo ke jiba kunlango dobe jamani mo killing nyaton kol kon anene akol aka fae ko alinga nyoma ko nga fero be ke nga president jamme bonde flag bi arayal mbole fere kan so be ni ko findira na ni alliance ko abe jumale terena fadale amela ko mol malo mimbe kere you think people don't know what's going on Fabakary Tambo Njata was their problem safo min findita la siran ko anata nyadile wo kelo bebe kering alnyantal nyaayele al nyaabe sorondi next minute ka tol use you are insulting people kunun tol mo jambaro de bi Allah taka molton ka albe mol nen al nen ndiro te fenti but mi mu toñati wala be lola Gambian over our dead body albe sare rogal albe dabar ko kala we are saying it but ala ke dawda be bondilal sign wala be loring that is due alal fon da handi al kana bayde mpare tali kam nte o pare tal kam wote biti nte jannin tebe tamala yalo nena nga fo audio kono jannin bita tamadula nko APRC chocho kana bar nanata mobe tenkon yellanno min soto waytu ebuli president jamme no ma that's all fale amala nyente terenne ni mol diam da ay ke fongol leke nyinti if you want to proof me na ya am proof nte wala ka dianye jandi betar la musoli ya ba fala ka fanne ke nyinti nayang nanante ya am proof ya fanne ko lafte fankela nyinti ya jibe tebe mun tarlante ya jandi betar la bako ke nyonke naya bare al mol nyin kamile nte taraya ani milnata audio nyin lamoy milnata kuma kan lamoy nte ka pile ne ngadi la ya lamoy ku ko yole be mbulo anda man taranda mabulo so nale yamera ko bare alim batu al mol ki kan target we are ready for you atol malon fambe kering nyemmitinol milbe kering al kalka strategy munana sayang algo APRC no to alliance kana may ko use algo ikana fenko de pamito di la premier mitinol ke bugo ale yalla nako nding pamit killing kanata ngam ninto ngara leke al ni adam baro billahi albe kala wulo ni nyanko mollet Allah sada pour ale min bondi ni suko defe moli yali moy nga beleje APRC noto alliance nyaton ko pour because executive mal doje barale min be bondi pour damale dunyola nga beleje barotita a wi fenketel kalab nga sumi yandi tek atenkunta baral ngata de nalbe nyolat al kana bayde al continue ka molki nan dron al continue tanya bale kande mo folo natale wo murta bare kabira be murukan wo kakabu kabu nyamin afunga alon ne ko atakata nyama ate finistal ya mo min na nyingoje anin keso abe mending ana bora je ite malo mo kalte nyaadle fenne yatol bole ite ko ka nyapi wala kan ko sise o ngambela ale tenkunde wala ko itade ntiji kita ko ale tenkunde ali tenkun jamfabe duma APRC ko lo jamfabe duma barate won tolte silanga o jamfaaju bay wok president jamme kam man desan ali ma long bi abole nyama bannin kol ko kebadi bi kono lo ni mol meje te ke fongole je abe keri ne jamfabe duma jamfa kolem babe duma atoluma long barentol ngalon ne munam problem o president Jammeh be bon la as the flag be yara why bare mi en tol jakali wala nyinti ko atol interest min ma fangol mi le finti audio kon wo audio lu natale muna da nyin audio dol man na because ngani kalamta even santo satel de ka foy ko president Jammeh en call le say na bota di amola barako nga finti ngal kan ngali yamare mil ka fale ten wol kal nenele we know everything we are sitting at one place but we are hearing everything and then we are seeing everything nte nalkal kan tere target alkal fongole batandi tandi betar la mo target kan kai ibita moriala o be mol kila na no be fongol kile bala o be mol kile be bitilae ite min ke ki muna mo itala problem imal la njur ku man kila na nang attack ya jibe fo lu ngebe la lela muso se asingo konkon ay sele la rango koma ibite admit la na baytale wulo bulala fa jilanko atol pareta mi ngo min nanto Gambia tol ngalon ni amon koy son tol ngam pare yakam male fali wolon ne fali malon billahi wallahi tallahi wallahi kunyila ko jamatak anosan ko bonjo man ko ne jawbe bare jilanko mu kano ma mbu pare billahi wallahi tallahi this time around nyamati malom kabo last Friday la kana fo say nyamati male be siri mbol kono mbe sangara ren ko wulu nyamato momo tawte en cross momo tawte mo cross even na mol ko ne mo cross isen je ko tilo isen tolbeje ko tilo almalo mbe kerem fa alkaya jame jam famu ne la fatul ma la fi tonya sabati bang tonya fola fintita afrika aliya fa nyina na afrika betel nambaro kono alkaya jame jam famu ne la ay mun kala ya be jam fala minela modu nyabo kan molbe tonya fala ka ya fa safana tole dolbe fintila jana wolu me kenyalo ngi koy kan tolen insult us but they all be the alteson nal nyaaye ben ntene mil nal lafta momo lafta kam prof alquran o samana mba mutala men kalile koy be jam fala la yaay andu metal la lor wolor la kilo ngan kali ko ngam fale ning atra ko kali nenele sai kanan singo fango wili itemillate fongole alquran mutay kali koy man tara ya jam fakan hey my friend alal nyaayele man jam fa ko le mbale be bori kan baral tajala bare nak ila sadai dolu mutale tay jala muk ila sadai dolu mutale ate bayla fo modol se bule no bara alalla wato ta bak yalon ya jari ni ma fo min na pour moye fanga be ko yalal pour mo fo ya lon ko ni mu jam falede wo be ko ya balale barate ma bola fanade ate ma bola al gambol mil tagadali fo nyo baytul alte kuno la wala wo nyama santa wato mina wote bit baytulay yalon ni yaji albe la fring albe balan nem pour president Jammeh na yalon sobi sonto sobi da fanna so bobe ma fo min na ba nyaati le woto barabe koyla le fer abe koyla le fer bare na diata alay kuro se koy fer ninyo ne wana kiri kara na nyo fenkode na fale bola ila lanno be bulo na lanno be bulo kay ita no manganta no ma da sol janni be tar la jebe kumol falayno politiko man na nyo nenna aman na nyo kaja fila mune nyo nen ku courant be kering mune nyo nen masiba be kering mune nyinti ila lanno be bul na lanno be bul kan nem munela ite kan te nem munela ite ne ya jamin to han tubabo liya do ka do jubel ko ni wo hakilo man correct do fana be do jube kan ka hakilo man correct but at the end Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala langin tabinna wala ta ka findi Gambia APR sinkolo alal nyaayele nyin kendi ngo meta tagetrinde ka je ko ya jamfa bare nak e ka kuma kan min faali ali amira ko wollem to nyaati ku jamal be duma dol ka fako dankuto mbe ni ya jametema Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lon tamina ku jamal be parering alkana amira ko molu lota ka kwale sono ajen sken senke kabiri ya bajonyo ko en kumandin tata nga jube job weldon nga wala fo en ko ka ala landi je alini landi bare yamira yalon ntolu militant sol ndesan ñayelo tumo sita ya jamme muso jarol tabe min to ato fola moy ye jam fa pare ndaka may ko naka na baro jam fati ñata la ko jam fati ñata a jam fati ñata la wallahi wo jam fati ñata wallahi fe gasera ngal yalo ko ha molle ka faale ko ya jamme binala le man nin kol ko malla fi nenete la fila bi malla fila wonente la fila lay hey president Adama Barrow ne malla fi ya jamme because TRRC conductor under his leadership anya ko to jani commissionol be keta janko na ko ate kela bare a ko nyini la bulo nyina singo nyina nyanyi na masoto no kabira lon ko masoto no wosina la fa tolla bang fa ka faale ko adunta jana finta jana Adam Barrow la campagnol be al nay minke lunjuma la sita kale ko niaje ko yaaja mena lafta nga murundi na Gambia aliya moy lunjuma la aka faale ko lafta ka yaaja me murundi na pura na Gambia ay muruna Gambia wala nan ko EPS ko la nan ka funyo ka lunjuma la aliya moy Adam Barrow sita ka yaaja mela ko ka cala campagnol be ko naltal nyaayele la bang ilafta ka ali use ni tolo barakata dro yal fay ko tissue paper militant sol be bulale no kan itol mil be nyaato ni place o dila sama ni kale ko alngamta NPP nali balanta itol bitala atole munenoje after voting for them after giving them your now my friend you better open your eyes altal nyaayele la bang ni tol tatale munenoje foka loka wuya la blaidu chochoeke chocho ko la mone binakela tous abe sumi ala rek bare jandimbe futalawta mo be la balanda etendi APRC kawo suppress ni banko kan atekela ka faal be pare wala mo le ajalal be minto bare wote kala de inte den kam en faale wala nindi ko alna manantara how albe how la alfonga what are you waiting for Jilanko jato adebi janne de Allahu akbar alben tar la janne ndedente wallahi ndebe always on standby hani sino ni mbala nyakili kilingo tawon kilingo yele ebe batundirola ala tray acha alkamne batu albeto nyakan kay diamlal man nyankela la problème oti barni aje diamlal kita la problème oti atoli yalo ne mimbe keri because ala ko la fonyo diamlal ni mol dendi to la dilote wokla APRC dingolo noto alliance billahi wallahi tallahi nallahi fa bakari tombo njata amantaw ntolu ngalo ne mimbe keri nimmi en soso meet me at home bare nimmin kan taraya eni senia enade nini seniyama wilna ite billahi wallahi tallahi nallahi mbe kala ala alquran wala nadi ada ala ite futala ini seniya na wala musaftit ntenga vale ne ngali kanu de miro le nata APRC ngol be ngali kanu miro le nata ambe mira nyalo mankiling nite lata men na wota ni no lata men na bulabulu bare o man nyankara vale sim dundin tema ntenga mol sudale mi yalon ko ni be num ma fankilin imalla fi ikoy tolube bulala coalition ol noma but aman difference samana nite man ka benne nga badi nga kacha nga janjang ila miro le be bulu nteta ali wo bulam bulu moto stop no lam bulu why are we your problem munam alla problem moti concentrate on what you are doing and let us concentrate on what we are also doing aliyem bula for God's sake bare Allah na fulol fada betinyala because alem horiya sifa bele kama wo achade dale man fasi ndoro wo bakan moten tol balla diamola because nga president mo la ko media la bebe control na after the election gelo le mutafa ngom fa ya klo ko min kamin sera ne are ko le sera no bare alay min lo kayenta You want to turn the people. Kaitindi la ko diamulal kal nenel. President Jammeh alafta min nan tolunga belong ale min parenda ko man tolunga belo be dunna lo min abal bele monela. Abal bele monela mo be sisi wo kamma. Your Excellency milike diamu e ka fo ko alliance nga accept ibe ne kan billahi wallahi tallahi nallahi be ne kan kalta ala alquran wala ibe ne kan kalita ala alquran bala ning ataran kam foye nke ne la alama alaka nan jerindi aljanna la ibe ne kan jamfa kolem babe duma Your Excellency sa jamfa mane babe duma dole be wuri kan ino ma wolo ma jede nte wala nan tebuga mo attack ntebuga mo bilel yalo moma minja maje ye molla kilo mira nyaaja ni molla calculate nyaman killing ite ko do calculate yake so bondi do it will take the person very long janda ka point o nyindi bare do bije ne kumo res jandi kumo be jila fa be fonyande la atarate kumo ke sota bare jamfa ko lem bare be dum alama den ko natol jamfa lal kunkan bari wolo ngali tentungal jayi kontanta Allah ko to bake ka fale ko alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin alnal badi malo mo jamme jilan ko jato ka fale ko assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh
بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله
Yo, assalamu alaikum kafuti kafo mo grupo mol balbe konton diron safolo mbamala memona awasanyanti kalbe tentu kalbe jayi ya munta ko ngam audio la moy sain men keta bala jahumpa action man la kuma kangoti konte Omar Mambura ninte diamutale ntele kay ko pa modum bow wole CRR tinya akontele ngam daele ngaw fati wala yam funtindina pour ngam fan seneyande ning ala temo sin kali folo billahi wallahi tallahi action man yala fan sun kuma ken sen wala fo ntena man diamu sakon nasi futa woto konon suutolam ayon kol abina sanje nim fen sila ntenen action man buka diam because ala nombal melbe mbulu nka kol le buka soto no ngam fonyo obina sanje kilo sila nala nyolongo nala kafunyoya ngajela ko alota ya jamme kanu mfana nga kanu wonyale na ko diata nyoye walla denga action man lon tenne respect go benna tema baray kuma nyin kuma kawo men funtinde ngam fango tuloye mem moy audio to billahi wallahi tallahi sin kali koteke ala toyala to ani tonya kese kilintije kadon teman daele nkae ko pamodu mbowlay central river region tinya pamodu mbow kayla tana wala bentel nate tema central river kono jam sente fonna e doku kendo men keni region kono wo nyomutole ben na tema wo nyokanole ben na tema fokana bula bila andun nabu ka fama nyola toujours nabe kacala politiko la kola na palo modu mbolo nyamen APRC dingolom ay APRC kanu ay ya jamme kanu ala banko kanu pour ngal nako mo seneyandi koteke action mane nyum kuma kan men foten hani tonya kese killing tije nga sonta misil me dingolo mati ndemo misil me dingolati nga saldio muta nga alqurano taki nyintele nga nyum kumota nga fo pamu action mane man nene ma fay bi ma fay sini kunon suto la nga ente kol ako atamatale no nga benun Dakar anatale ala new number men install akaben kol ka wala pour sa lonko wolo mala new nombati ay nyinin ka jambe nyaadi ka alhamdulillah ay advice ko let me still remain to be APRC nkae for life as far as I am concerned mo hana kani hakil fula soto to fa nte APRC dunia pojanin dunia be kala nyami mbijele nenete ya jamme jamfala nenete bulala ko kundin noma ni ya jammelal ma yamaro diko nga keten ndebe lori woto woneto nyaaje balanta noto coalition ma moya tulola mala kibari soto sakala kila ka foko nim parti kote yeta coalition parti lon woti nak fendi e famparendi wala nginte Omar Mamburel man kuma kan koyo soto from His Excellency ya Jammeh motente mufnolan noto hanin kilinne betula APRC kilin situje bari manta bola APRC kata join any other political party billahi wallahi tallahi jannin alay niota mote wo jele nyaala bari meyen funtindi wolom nyinti ka action man ka murundi ala kumo kan ko ay même fa dala kon telenga fay hani tonya kese kilintije billahi wallahi tallahi abenni nakaburo ni na dimbayal betema lafta nyine senendila askanoma isalong nte Omar Mamburel nte manke o mo sifati nte mbuka fane ya fondala mbuka kala mola mbuka ku jakasi andu ngina memfo mbuka muru koma ning ala temo ngam memfo nkallo wotele kati adiyata wa kuyata wo foyem falale bang bari ntenga membo nenkalo dakono mbuka muru koma ko mawf alamante dawonya lafta nyine seneyandila mo be asa lonko isa lonko action man yekuma kan memfo hani tonya kese kilintije del nim pa modum am problem soto pa modum man CRR tinya do ku kendo men aya kidan o keta CRR ko bere nyala itelle dial ni kuwa ke doron e nyapita pa modu kan ye kan la men ama kidan ay men kidan ay molle kafu nyoma na APRC politiko do ko ni regiono kono CRR be si wo sede andil difference o mela lafta create la na tema mbewle sene andilal wo barakatalla a barakate mola men si wo keno warin si men no doron wala nga funti kam fan sene andi ko ite action man ye menke ye menfo ntema fo e bi ma fo e sinin and with due respect ila word ni withdraw itenin ala temo ite ya lonkon tema ndayele ngin sinin kumo foy mbal be tentula mbal be jay la bara